Whether it's bad planning, bad luck, bad timing, or bad inventions, well-intentioned bad decisions have plagued history for thousands of years. Welcome to Historic Hindsight. Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Historic Hindsight presents Tommy's Tirades, where today, Tommy's mad about Robert E. Lee.
That's right, Johnny. I don't care how many people get pissed off in the South about this. Robert E.Lee was shit.
No!
Get over him.
There's no way.
He was shit. Now, I don't mean like as
a
person.
Wait,
as a
hold
person,
up.
By all counts, he was a good person,
Hold up. Wait.
Shit as a general.
No, he is one of the iconic generals of the, United States and Confederate United States, armies, right? I know him. I've heard of him, which has to mean something.
Is shit. Clickbait. This is clickbait, but he is shit.
Is this just because so you're just mad at the South? It's because he's a dirty rebel Southerner.
So first off, yes, I'm a Northern sympathizer, propagandist, whatever you want to call that crap.
Yeah.
We made a video. We made a video about Chancellorsville, and the whole tagline was about how it was his greatest battle, but not really, because at the end of the day, he didn't win anything. And right. I'm going to go through all of his major battles that he fought, that he commanded troops in, and I'm going to go systematically point by point, and also.
All right, so we're doing wins losses.
Go over some.
Is what we're doing.
Go over some.
Now,
go over some of his these stupid comments that we had on that episode. They're like, "You just got general envy." No, I don't. The Union had first off, Grant was way better, but we'll get into that on another episode. But Lee is shit.
All right, real quick, just for me, the non history study and everything is so they always say that winning is not a quarterback stat, and so you can't judge the quarterback's play by whether they win or lose. Is winning a general's stat?
Well, at the end of the day, Johnny,
it's the only thing that matters,
in a war,
really, right?
What is it? But more to that, we call Grant a butcher. Everybody in the South, Grant was a butcher. Grant was a butcher.
Yeah.
And while on paper, Grant might have lost more number of casualties, but by percentage of what that was. Well, okay, that's true. He lost, but you got to look at not the raw numbers. You got to look at what those raw numbers are as percentage of the entire army. So yes, you might lose 12,000 versus 11,000 men, but if you lose 12,000 out of 80,000 men versus 12,000 out of 50,000 men, there's a big difference in the percentage of your army that was impacted.
Yeah.
So, first off the bat, Johnny, can you guess how many offensive campaigns in Union territory that General E. Lee won?
That he won. Okay, so
that he won.
For everybody who didn't watch our intro, I literally know nothing about history. So generally,
take a guess.
He was the commander of the Confederate Army throughout the war, essentially, right?
No.
Or for a part of it, first half
for
of
a chunk. He was the commander of the Army of Northern Virginia from in mid 1862 was when he takes command of Northern Virginia.
All right, I'm gonna guess that he won 7 battles in the North.
He won absolutely 0 battles in the North, with absolutely 0 campaigns won in the North.
During the War of Southern Aggression.
Yeah, he wins nothing in the North. His only victories come from defensive campaigns in the South. So this is essentially if you're a football fan, a team that can only win at home and never win on the road.
Well, and their defense can win at home, but they're winning games 6-3, not anything. More than that.
Exactly. So he wins through the entire war. Absolutely no offensive campaigns in the North.
What about are there offensive campaigns in the South?
Yes, he has several. There are several offensive. Yeah. So at the very start of the war, he's more in an advisory role to Jefferson Davis. When the war starts, the North does court him. And he resigns his position in the North because he feels his loyalty is to the state of Virginia as opposed to anything else. He decides to himself that I'm not going to fight in the war on either side, and then quickly reneges on that when he joins the Confederate Army.
So, do you think was that a stall tactic? Was that him just telling his friends that he's never going to see again?
I think he legitimately had the intention of not participating, but then when you see an army on your home turf,
regardless
of whether you agree with that army's morals or not. I mean, you kind of have to step up.
Yeah, and again, some point, even if the people that you agree with are storming your home and like trying to set up in your living room, like you're going to defend your house at some point. Essentially, is what you're saying with him.
Yeah, and I'm not saying anything bad about his character. I'll save character episodes for a later thing. This is just him as a general.
So you're going to take his character down later. Right now, we're just attacking his professional career.
Yeah, okay, maybe. Great. So at the very start of the war, he tells Davis there's no way that the Confederacy is going to win without attacking the North. Like, we can't win by just defending our territory. We will eventually lose because we don't have the manpower, we don't have the supplies, we cannot sustain ourselves in a purely defensive campaign. We have to take the war to the North. We have to fight the North and win battles on the North to get Northern sympathies against the war, to end the war that way. He also knew that there was zero chance that he was actually going to beat the North. There's too few men. They weren't going to take over the North by force. The only way they were going to win is by demoralizing the North by victories in the North.
Okay, I mean, so far so good, because I don't think he's wrong in any of this.
No, he's not. He's not wrong. That is a 100% accurate statement. Davis says, no, we're not going to go take the war to the North. We're going to defend our territories.
So Davis was playing it basically like the United States played our own independence, where it was just like, we're independent, bring it if you want it.
Yeah. Yeah, but the difference is, the North
there's not a giant ocean between them.
Yeah, the North is like a mile away, and they have an unlimited amount of supplies and men. In the South, versus like in our independence, they were an ocean away.
Yeah.
Now, so his very first battle where he actually led troops on the ground in the Civil War was in Western Virginia, and I say Western Virginia, but nowadays it's West Virginia, but then just Western Virginia, at the Battle of Cheat Mountain, where he failed to beat a weaker force of defending Union forces underneath General Reynolds.
So this was them trying to attack.
He is trying to attack, and he fails to defeat them because he thinks that they're actually stronger than they are. Now, to General Reynolds' credit, he kicks the shit out of them in any attempt that they do attack, and he makes it appear like he has a lot more men than what he does. But at the end of the day, like, Lee should have been able to take that position. He had more men. Yeah. He had the ability to do so, but he was cautious. He got hit hard and lost some casualties, and he withdrew. Did the other general do that thing where they like, hey, we're gonna split up into multiple different things, and like, no, they just chilled and just fought hard.
And they chilled was like, oh, it's too much, I can't do it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So as he's fighting this campaign, he winds up retreating and getting the nickname Granny Lee and evacuating Lee by newspapers in the Confederacy. Look it up. I'm going to put, because one of the comments was, well, put your sources. So I'll put my fucking sources for you people who want sources. Fine. I'll put it. I know you're not going to actually look at it.
They're primary, though, is the thing. Tommy, you cannot depend on primary sources. Everybody knows that you cannot start looking at Civil War history until the year 1910.
1991. Woodrow Wilson starts his old bull crap, lost cause crap. Anyways, he's mocked by the Confederacy at this point as being a person
soft and weak. Essentially, is what they're calling him, because they're saying Granny Lee.
Yeah.
So yeah, soft and weak.
Lee. Now, I also want to point out that I think he does have some good tactics. He does have some good ideas, but it's more the weak Union general's fault that he wins than his ability or his men's fortitude or anything like that. It's
Tom,
poor Union generalship.
You cannot blame the competition. Teams are set up with a schedule each year, and they have to play the teams they have to play. Just because the Patriots have had the most cupcake schedule for the past 20 years or however many years they've been winning Super Bowls doesn't mean they're the greatest organization ever to exist.
No. Like, I'm glad you brought up football. This is more the NFC East right now with the Washington football team going to the playoffs with a 7-9 record. This is that. Like, you won 7 matches, great, but like you won it against the Giants. So
okay.
congratulations.
So I have it backwards.
That's where we're at. Yeah.
So basically, all of Lee's competition up until this point has been just. It's like, of course you're gonna win that, and it's going like he probably had more trouble than he should have.
That's my argument for his wins is more of who he was facing. Now, his second major battle is a series of campaigns called the Battle of the 7 Days campaign. His first battle there is at Oak Grove, which was an inconclusive battle. McClellan attacks Lee. They beat the shit out of each other, but nobody really gains any ground. Nobody loses any ground. It's inconclusive.
Which that was a lot of Civil War, right?
That was a lot of the Civil War, yeah. The second day at Beaver Dam Creek, Lee advanced against McClellan's right flank, and he gets the shit kicked out of him and sustains large casualties. He only sort of gets McClellan pushed slightly when Stonewall Jackson reinforces him, but at the end of the day, it is by all accounts considered a Union victory.
Now, quick question here. When he goes in and he gets slaughtered, how much of it is because is tactical, where he attacked whatever else is his instruction there, and how much of it is just they're playing with farmhouse rifles instead of actual military weapons versus the Norse military?
So is
he losing because of strategy, or is he losing because they were always
the South will always I will argue that the South is always going to lose no matter who you have as a general. And I will argue that Lee gave them a somewhat fighting chance.
I mean, the North wanted him as a general.
They did. My whole point to this isn't so much that Lee is put up on a pedestal, and I'm taking him back down.
Lee's not
because he doesn't deserve the credit that he's given.
He's not Tom Brady.
He's not Tom Brady. No.
He's Peyton Manning.
No, he's not Peyton Manning. He's Foles. He's Nick Foles. He can win if given the right circumstances.
Well, I was saying Peyton Manning because Peyton Manning had a history of always beating the teams he was supposed to beat. Always. It just so happened that 6 times a year the teams he was supposed to beat were 3 of the worst teams in the league. And so okay. 6 free wins. I get what and he had to win like 4 games, and all of a sudden he's amazing. Not that he was. I love him, but yeah. In any case.
I get you. In any case, the third day of the 7 Days battle was Gaines Mill, where Lee would again gain a victory against Union positions at the Chickahominy River. Mm-hmm. On the fourth day, the Garnets and Golden's farms were inconclusive. Again, they beat each other to death, but nothing really happens. Fifth day at Savage Station, the Allen's farm, where again it was inconclusive.
So this is all in the same area, I assume.
This is the same area, a 7 day
so they're
campaign.
Just walking around to find different areas to go ahead and destroy with their feet marching and their gunfires firing and everything else.
Exactly. So we've got up to the fourth day we've got a Confederate victory, a Union victory, and 2 inconclusives. On the fifth day at Savage Station and Allen's farm, again inconclusive. On the sixth day, yeah, right.
Like what's he doing during this?
The sixth day was also inconclusive at Glendale and White Oak Swamp, and the final battle during the 7 Days campaign was at Malvern Hill, which was a Union victory where Lee unsuccessfully attacked a Union fortified position on top of Malvern Hill. So the reason why Lee is ultimately should not be considered a phenomenal general. Grant, for instance, granted I'm Union, Grant is going to make mistakes. Grant is going to learn from mistakes. So at Shiloh, Grant does not prepare for the potential of a Confederate attack. He gets the crap kicked out of him on that first day. Mm-hmm. He then turns around, gets his reinforcements, and pushes the advantage when he sees that there's an advantage to push. He learns from his mistakes. He will never again go into battle not prepared for the possibility of a Confederate attack. Okay. Lee, however, goes back to his go-to play. Do a frontal attack on a fortified position and hope to overwhelm them. He does this time and time and time again. And it doesn't work.
All right, so it's Bill Belichick is Grant, essentially. Like good mind, you're not going to make the same mistake twice. You're going to see what you did wrong and then correct it.
Yes.
And then on the other side, we have Lee, who's also successful. So, I mean, he's obviously
he's successful.
And so it's like a I don't want to say Andy Reid because he's good too, but like whoever the Packers coach was for a while.
I don't remember this.
McCarthy. So McCarthy. He's McCarthy. It's like, yeah, he's winning some stuff, and it's like, you should have won that. And then he also probably should have won a lot more if he was actually any good, but he didn't. And so,
or should have lost a lot more had he gone against better teams.
Right.
So at the end of the 7-day campaign, you have 2 Union victories, 1 Confederate victory, and the rest were inconclusive. Lee would gain a strong victory at the Second Battle of Bull Run, or Manassas, depending on your viewpoint. But he suffered. He still suffered 14.5% of casualties of his entire army. Ooh. So yes, he suffered less casualties than the Union, but he lost 14.5% of his army, and this is going to be consistent. No, this is what he lost. 14.5%.
No, I was just saying fewer instead of less. It was a grammar thing.
Well, okay, whatever. You grammar, whatever. Lee would almost, but after this victory, like you'd think, okay, great, we're good to go. But Lee would almost be destroyed at the Battle of South Mountain when McClellan took over Lee's positions, but failed to pursue Lee's devastated army. So
this is one of those situations where the North dominated and then just stopped.
Yeah, McClellan attacked Lee
instead of continuing.
Kicked the crap out of Lee and let Lee retreat and regroup. Mm-hmm. Why, I don't know. This is McClellan being too damn cautious.
Well, I mean, from what I've heard, this happened the entire friggin' war where
pretty much
Northern generals are like, all right, we beat them because they're retreating. And they're like, well, should we keep going? And they're like, no, don't keep going because why would you do that? We would win the war then.
Yeah, this is a common theme. Again, Lee's going to lose 15% of his army versus only 8% of the northern side. That tells you how lopsided. Double the casualty rate on Lee. Lee never got
actual casualties, was it?
It was similar, but again, rate versus percentage of armies. But why Lee was never considered a butcher, I don't know, because he never really had a battle under 10% casualties. So and keep in mind, he's defending 90% of the time. You should not lose more percentage of your troops defending than the offensive campaign is waging. Right. But he does, time and time again. Lee would again face a tactical defeat at Antietam. This is a battle. I'm going to give it to the North for several reasons, mainly because ends his Maryland campaign, his campaign into the North. The first time he goes into the North to try to attack the North. He loses both battles. He loses at the Battle of South Mountain. He loses again at Antietam. Antietam tactically is a draw in a lot of ways, but
I've heard that. Have we covered that, or is it just a super?
No, we haven't
battle?
done. No, it's a super famous battle. Okay. We haven't covered it yet. It's it's the bloodiest single day battle of the war.
Okay.
And Lee winds up having to retreat back down to Virginia. He does do some amazing things here. He is outnumbered and is able to put up a hell of a fight. I'm not discrediting that, but he loses 31.7% of his army to the Union 14.2.
Nearly a third.
That is a huge chunk of his army gone. And Lee does not have the ability to reinforce, to get new men, to get new equipment. When they're gone, they're basically gone. The North has a seemingly endless supply. He cannot afford that.
Now, of men, too, was the North more populated?
Yeah.
Account of, I assume on account of that whole New York.
All the industries in the North, New York, land, Chicago, Indianapolis. All the big cities are in the North, And
then it's just farms and plantations down in the South where they don't have the population density to continue, which is why they eventually went to the draft and... which obviously
the Confederacy is actually
super free and very much states' rights when you enact a draft to force people to join your federal military.
And to all you Southern sympathizers, the Confederacy implemented the draft first, like right off the damn bat. If your cause was so just, if your people were lining up to enlist, why did you enlist the draft in 1862? You're barely in the war and you're already out of supplies and men. Anyways, that's not this. So he's going to win a huge battle at Fredericksburg. I will argue that Fredericksburg is probably a bigger successful battle than any of his other campaigns.
Which, speaking of Fredericksburg, Check out our episode special on Fredericksburg, somewhere in our playlist. We don't know how to do the link thing. I would say here with the. I don't know how to do it. And then I would have a link, but I don't know how to do that.
No, I don't have. I might link it at the end, but whatever. Anyways, so he wins a good battle here, and it's like something like he loses 8% of men versus like I think it's around 30 for the Union. I mean, he does kick the crap out of the Union here, but he fails to pursue Burnside across the Rappahannock. He also doesn't kick the army out of Virginia, so the Union army is still across the Rappahannock in Virginia, like, we're still here. We're still in your enemy territory. You've not gained any land back. You've not destroyed the Union army. So, yeah, it's a great victory, but is it? You didn't. What did you gain? Yeah, you caused some casualties, but you're still there.
Okay, I don't know if you're gonna be able to answer this. It seems like everybody was real bad at war back in the day.
Oh yeah, no, we were so
nobody knew what the fuck they were doing, right?
I'm gonna burst everybody's bubble here. The American forces. So our Civil War is very similar to like World War I. Our technology had increased. Our tactics were shit.
Yeah.
We were fighting the Civil War with the Napoleonic tactics like smooth board, fighting within 50 yards. But we had rifles accurate out to 500 yards. So we were slaughtering the shit out of each other.
Yeah. Okay.
And not knowing how to respond to it, and our army beforehand, the United States did not have a standing army of any real significant strength prior to World War II, or prior to post World War II, and it shows here in the Civil War. Our generals were ill-equipped for this. Most of the generals on both sides were absolute garbage.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, it seems like every single general was begged to take the job. It's not people being like, well, this guy is certainly qualified, and he's been doing something similar for years, and so he's going to be the natural leader in this situation. It's like, here's a guy who did, I don't know, fine on his test, and then I've heard his name. You want to do it?
You want to do it? Yeah, here you go. The next battle at Chancellorsville, Lee is given his greatest victory.
Okay.
And so I have to respond to some of the comments on my Chancellorsville.
Oh, right, we covered Chancellorsville. Yeah, this was Lee's greatest battle, but not really, right?
But not really.
That was that.
Yeah. So first, he fails to pursue Hooker across the Rappahannock. Again, it's the same thing.
Common theme.
You won a battle here, but you didn't pursue. So what does it matter?
Right.
Had Hooker not retreated across the Rappahannock, Lee's plan for the last day of the battle, which didn't happen, was a full frontal assault on Hooker's defended positions. Had he done this...
That doesn't seem like something that had gone well from him in the past.
No, Lee would have gone up against at least a 2-to-1 odds in defended positions. He would have been slaughtered had Hooker just stayed put in his fixed fortification positions.
But on account of Hooker also being just shit.
Hooker left and didn't. Hooker also failed to give Meade permission. Meade, the whole greatest strategy of this battle was Stonewall Jackson's flanking of the Union Army. After the initial flanking of the Union Army, General Reynolds and General Meade were on Jackson's flank, had him outnumbered 3-to-1. Meade asked permission from Hooker, please let me attack Jackson's flank. He would have rolled that flank, and this isn't like speculation or anything else. 3-to-1 odds attacking on a flank, he would have rolled that flank. Jackson would have been, Jackson's already wounded and gone, but Jackson's army would have been destroyed, and Lee's army would have been in a catastrophic position. But Hooker denied Meade the ability to do so, again showing that it was Hooker's crap generalship that gave Lee the win, nothing else. Now,
so basically you're saying here, in this situation, Hooker was worse than Lee was good.
Exactly. So during this battle, I made the comment that Lee responded the only way he could. I had a comment that said, he could have done multiple things. He could have retreated. He could have stayed put. There was a million other things. In hindsight, of course, the actions he chose was the only actions he could take. So first off, to that comment, you
I would like to point everybody to the title of our podcast.
It's
episode,
Historic Hindsight.
YouTube channel, whatever. Historic Hindsight. We're looking back at things.
So
with hindsight.
But
because I'm
going to point to the two options he gave me: stay and do nothing. So at that point, Hooker's plan was to cross the Rappahannock around Chancellorsville and hit Lee on his flank at Fredericksburg, while keeping a force at Fredericksburg to keep Lee contained. He did not want Lee to retreat from Fredericksburg. He wanted Lee to stay there so that he could flank him.
Yeah.
At the absolute best, get out of his fixed fortification so the force at Fredericksburg could cross easily and attack him there. Yep. His goal was to surround and destroy Lee. Fredericksburg is a vital rail and communication point to Richmond. Lee knows that if he retreats to Richmond and gets engaged in the siege warfare at Richmond, the war is lost. It would only be a matter of time before that siege would be broken and they would lose. Retreat's out the option. He can't do it.
Sure.
If he stays there, he will be flanked and destroyed from two sides. He can't stay there and do nothing. So his only option is to split his force, leave some at Fredericksburg, and move the rest to engage Hooker as he comes up to Chancellorsville. For whatever reason, Hooker decides when he has he's kicking the crap out of the Confederates, he's gaining ground, and decides, nope, I'm going to retreat and pull back to Chancellorsville.
Again,
why? Because I don't know. He's an idiot.
Because they didn't know what they were doing. Nobody. This is all right. So I saw a picture of a basketball game from I don't know, the 40s or 50s, whenever basketball was created, and it was some dude shooting a free throw, shooting it granny style, underleg. And that was like top tier basketball, best you could get. That's what they were doing, because they didn't know any better. They didn't know what they were doing. They had just invented a sport and were trying stuff. And you take literally anybody from, I don't know, freaking high school probably, who's on a good team, and put them back there, they're gonna dominate because they know what they're doing.
Another comment that we had was that Hooker's plan was to use the cavalry to go down south and threaten Richmond to get Lee to come out and leave Fredericksburg, which isn't necessarily wrong. I mean, his idea was that the cavalry, the Union cavalry, was supposed to disrupt shit by Richmond to distract. Their real goal was to prevent Longstreet from being able to reinforce Lee, which was successful. Mm-hmm. But I have to point out that the fucking cavalry of the Union was delayed and didn't do their damn job and wasn't there in time for the Battle of Chancellorsville, so had no damn impact on the battle at all. Hooker himself was pissed that the cavalry was slow and did not do what they were supposed to fucking do. Anyways.
That seems not like Lee's fault. Also, another comment that we had that I thought was interesting, Prospector Johnny sure is handsome. He looks like that Aquaman fellow.
Yeah, that was not on that episode, though.
No,
that was on another.
Wasn't it? Oh, are you sure?
So at Chancellorsville, I'm going to remind you, again, why Lee is a butcher. Although as successful as this is, as brilliant as this is, oh, by the way, the whole Lee came up with a plan of flanking. Yeah, we don't know who actually came up with that plan of flanking. We know Lee met with Stonewall Jackson prior to that decision being made. They met in private. They had a confidential meeting. Stonewall Jackson's going to die, so we don't know what his word is. Lee's initial reports to President Davis in his own war reports was that we came up like we made this decision. Uh-huh. And only later would he take credit for that idea. I'm skeptical because usually Lee's ideas full-on assault at them, at their center line, not like a flanking maneuver, but whatever. But that's beside the point. Anyways, Lee's going to lose 21% of his army versus Union 13%. So is that really a great victory? Lee himself, after the battle, is going to state his own words, after Chancellorsville, is going to state, "We gained another victory. Our people were wild with delight. I, on the contrary, was more depressed than after Fredericksburg. Our loss was severe, and again we gained not an inch of ground, and the enemy could not be pursued." His own damn words acknowledging this wasn't a victory. He didn't win shit. He lost too many men. He lost too many good generals. What was the victory? What was the gain?
I'm looking at this from somebody who doesn't know much. But it seems like those words, that the way he phrased that and everything, it sounded like he was at a point where he knew that he was fighting a war he had no chance of winning.
He did. He knew that.
He had a battle, he won it, but then it's like, yes, I won that battle, but do you see the cost that we had with it? We cannot keep doing this.
So after his victory at Chancellorsville, Lee is nearly destroyed at Gettysburg on his second attempt to take the battle to the north. He's going to lose 37% of his army, Johnny, at the Battle of Gettysburg. Damn near kills off the entire division of Pickett. Because he decides, guess what, Johnny, to do an all-out attack on the center position of a fortified Union line. Just right up the gut. Let's just do it. It is more asinine when you actually look at the the battlefield of Gettysburg, where Pickett's charge was. He was a mile away from the Union line. Had to cross a mile of open field where damn near every Union artillery piece had a clear shot at the advance.
I was gonna ask. You just mentioned the how far the guns could shoot now.
3 miles. The Union rifle guns, like a 10-pound rifled Parrott or a 3-inch ordnance rifled gun, could shoot 3 miles. And I mean,
okay, so they're just marching in an open field within range of
these artillery
every
pieces.
Weapon the North has, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
They then have to cross over a fence line. Like, you can't just walk around it. You got to hop over a fence line. So you stop your advance, cross over a fence line.
It seems like it would be better for the military to just go ahead and just get rid of that fence at the start.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that fence line is
poles, like 3 or 4 poles, and then down. Like, fences weren't built great back then.
No, that fence line that disrupts their movement forward is, I do believe, within rifle range of the Union line.
How about that? While they're sitting there trying to remove a fence, they're sitting there getting picked off, probably, right?
Yeah. This is Fredericksburg reversed. This is sending Confederate forces up against a fixed fortified position, and expecting something to happen. Now Lee's idea was like, I'll have and to his credit, it was the largest artillery battle or barrage up to that point, but his guns were smoothbore. They were ineffective at that range and didn't do anything to disrupt the Union artillery guns, didn't do anything to disrupt the Union infantry positions.
So basically what we have here is a teenager with a handful of rocks versus a professional baseball pitcher with a baseball.
Yes.
They're just chucking and hoping versus a guy who's like, I'm going to hit you right in the temple because that's where I want it to go.
Yep, exactly. So he damn near gets destroyed. The only reason his army does not get destroyed is because Meade doesn't pursue. Here we are again.
Of course. That's the theme of the Civil War. It's like, we beat you, now I don't know what to do with that.
And they're not going to pursue him. After the Battle of Gettysburg, Lee takes full responsibility for this loss. He offers his resignation letter to President Davis, saying, and I quote, again, first-person count, his own damn words.
Everybody listening, everybody watching, that means it's not propaganda.
It's not propaganda.
Just a quote. That's it. That's all it is a quote.
Lee's letter to President Davis after his loss at Gettysburg. No one is more aware than myself of my inability for the duties of my position. I cannot even accomplish what I myself desire. I therefore, in all sincerity, request your excellency to take measures to supply my place.
He straight up said he sucks.
He straight up said he sucks.
Dear job, I'm bad at it. Bye, is what he said.
Now he's a very loved general. He's religious in the time that is appropriate.
Well, except for everybody who's calling him like Granny General or whatever.
At the start, but at this point he's loved. He's got a lot of things in his favor. There's an incident where he comes across a wounded Union soldier, and the Union soldier's like, "Fuck you, Lee!" And Lee leans down and shakes his hand and says, "I hope you the best."
What a waste of time that was.
Well, yeah, but he's genuinely a good, he does care about his fellow man to the degree as you can in the war. So not discrediting his character in that.
Because he never pursued anybody and he didn't really do anything in the war.
Lee would wind up after Gettysburg, resulting in a draw battle at the Battle of the Wilderness, which is the first engagement against Grant. His army here is going to lose 18% of his men, so it's a draw, but he's still losing a shit ton of men.
Nearly a fifth.
He gets another draw at Spotsylvania Courthouse, where he loses an additional 20% of his men.
A solid fifth. Right.
He gets a win at the Overland Campaign against Grant when he secures a victory, but he's going to lose, and this is a good one, 53.8% of his men. Over half his army is gone in casualties. Gone.
Okay. I think. This is a tangent. I feel like he would have done very, very well as a general of maybe the Chinese army. Where you literally just have unlimited soldiers.
Yeah.
And you can lose 53% and then come back and be like, well, doesn't matter. Replaced. He didn't have that luxury. They already had a draft in place.
The Union is going to lose 44% of its men. So this was rough.
Good God.
Also significant. Yeah, that was a rough. Why the Overland Campaign is not talked about more, I don't know, because that is
well, join us next week when we talk about the Overland Campaign.
Well, we're not talking about that next week. Oh. We're talking about that weird random fort what's the damn name of that movie?
I don't know. We'll talk about it next week.
We'll talk about it next week, and don't worry about it. The Battle of Bottom Deep, Lee would gain his final victory, although that's more of a skirmish than this battle. Like, your losses are like 600 dudes, so I mean that's not.
Only 600 human lives were lost, so who cares, right?
Casualties, that's not all dead, Johnny. That's
right. Okay,
and missing.
Probably like 30 were dead, and then like 570 had a broken finger.
In the final substantial battles at the Appomattox Courthouse, where Lee's going to surrender the entire army of northern Virginia.
Where he just claims his overall, I'm not a winner.
What essentially happens is Grant kicks the crap out of him and says, "Look, I don't want to be responsible for any more bloodshed. Clearly, you have to determine that this is pointless. Stop.
Want to stop trying?
And Lee goes, get worse. And Lee goes, listen, I don't agree that this is pointless, but I also don't want any more bloodshed. So, so what are your terms of surrender?"
Yeah, surely it's not pointless, but on the other side, I'm losing nearly a third to a half of my army every time we come together. So
out of his substantial campaigns where he's actually commanding troops on the ground, there are battles that I didn't talk about that the South won that he was
I'm sure we'll hear about them.
Yeah, the Battle of Crater, the very first episode that we talked about. He wasn't on the ground. He wasn't commanding anybody, but they kicked the crap out of the Union. Now, anyways, so his overall record of engagements where he was directly leading troops in substantial battles, he has 6 wins to 7 losses to 6 ties. So if you are a professional sports team, any professional sports team, and your coach gives you that, you're probably not keeping him around.
I mean, unless you're the Giants who won the Super Bowl with a record like that.
Yeah, there's that. But at the end of the day, I mean, you're why?
No, you should.
Why is that record? Why are people like Lee is the greatest thing ever for all generals in the entire Union, in the entire American history? Lee is considered one of the best. What that? No, that is awful.
I'm gonna argue that it has more to do with the name. Got a good name.
Generally Lee. Yeah.
Robert E. Lee.